Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to Made Every Day. I'm gonna help you make cool things using everyday items. And today we're making these really fun baby bibs. They're great because they fit right over their head, and the really cool part is that they're made from an old placemat. So grab your things and let's get started. Like most of you, I love to roam the thrift store looking for a good find. And for some reason, I cannot say no to these old quilted placemats. I've used them before to make little aprons for girls. You'll find a tutorial for that on my site, danamadeit.com. But since I've got a baby in the house lately, I've been thinking, what else can I use this for? And the other day it dawned on me, it kind of looks like a bib. So I cut a hole in the top, and just like making a t-shirt, I added ribbing for the neckline, and then I put bias tape all the way around. You can do all sorts of different ways. Here's a simple version I made for a boy, or you can get real crazy. On this one, I took a toilet paper roll, dipped it in acrylic paint, and then stamped it all over the placemat before making my bib. Today we're gonna make this simple yellow one right here. Here's what you need: an old placemat, ribbing, and 1/2 inch wide double fold bias tape. I've got my placemat here that I purchased at a thrift store for $1. And the nice thing is, it's got a few layers of fabric quilted together, so it's super absorbent. If you don't have a placemat, you can also buy this kind of fabric in the fabric store. It's already quilted. So what you want to do is fold the top third down, and then you need something circular to cut a neckline. You can use a bowl with about a 4.5 inch diameter. I have actually created a pattern for you that you can download for free on my website. Go to danamadeit.com, click tutorials, click Placemat Bibs, and print it from your computer. Then we need to find the center point of this. So fold this in half. Place a little mark right in the center, and then place your pattern piece right in the middle of that dot. Then cut it out. I'm using scissors, you can use a rotary cutter, whatever works for you. You don't need to trace it, just start cutting. That's my favorite type of sewing. No rules, right? Okay, and there you go. We've got a little circle here, set that aside, and you've got a perfect little hole for your neckline. For our neckband, we're using ribbing fabric, which is great because it can expand to fit over the baby's head, and then it contracts to fit snug around their neck. You want to cut a strip that's 12 by 2 1/4 inches. So you're using a rotary cutter here and a cutting mat. Let's cut this. A rotary cutter is great because it gives you a really precise, straight cut. Better than scissors will do. I have it folded in half, so I'm just going to cut it at 6 inches here. Okay. And there you go, we've got our ribbing. Now let's sew it together. First thing you want to do with your ribbing is to iron it in half. This is actually going to help after we sew it to be able to fold it in half again. Now unfold that neckline, fold it in half the other direction so that the creases are facing each other. And we're going to sew right down this edge using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm just using a straight stitch here, not a zigzag or anything. And when you're done, fold it back again, and you've got a great little neckband. Now grab your bib, and as you can see, the neckband that we made is slightly smaller than the circle we cut, which is great. That's what you want. It will make sure that the neck is nice and snug around the baby. So start by pinning these two together. Start in the center back and with the raw edges together. Place a pin right there. Then do the same thing in the front center of the bib. Pin those two edges together, and then you just want to start cutting those distances in half. Pin it on the side, then pin it on the other side, then pin it halfway between those sides. You want to make sure that this thing is evenly spaced all the way around so there aren't any gathers and so that it looks nice and professional. Okay, we are ready to sew this in place. Now stick this right under your machine. This step can be a little tricky because there's all these pins poking at you, so work carefully. And then we're going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm just using a straight stitch here, not a zigzag, because this is a woven fabric, so it's not really gonna stretch. What you do wanna do though is stretch the ribbing as you go to make sure that it's taut with the fabric underneath, so there aren't any gathers or anything like that. Now take out all your pins, and then we're gonna iron out our seam, pressing all the raw edges to the outside. And awesome! Now we're gonna sew a little bit of top stitching around the outside, just to make it look a little bit fancier. Place it in your machine, and you want to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the ribbing. And a top stitch is just kind of a fancy stitch that looks nice. It also helps keep the seam flat underneath. I'm using a straight stitch again, not a zigzag. Now if you wanted to, you could stop right there and you've got a really cool bib for your baby. But we're gonna fancy it up a little bit more, cut around the edges, and put our own bias tape on it. Now to get a nice shape on your bib, we're gonna fold one of the sides under toward the back. And we're gonna angle it slightly toward the back as well. There's no right or wrong here. Just do whatever looks good to you. Turn it back over. Oh, looks great. And then we're gonna iron it to make a crease in our fabric. This crease is gonna help us as we cut to have a line. Now we're gonna open it up again. We're gonna fold the whole thing in half and cut it as one big piece. Now you can see our crease there. Start at the back, and as we go, we're gonna kind of round the edges at the same time. Just like this. Cut right along that creased line. There you go. And when you get to the bottom, do the same thing. Just kind of round off the edges. This makes it really easy for putting bias tape around it, and just kind of looks cute. Okay, there you go. It's starting to look like a real bib. Now for bias tape, you've got some options. You can purchase them at the store, already made, or you can easily make your own. We've got a detailed video step-by-step tutorial on my website and YouTube channel. For this bib, I made my own using this cool stripy fabric, and I did not cut it on the bias because I wanted the stripes to go horizontal. You want to take your double fold bias tape and completely unfold it. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to sew it to the wrong side first, right along the crease that's already in the bias tape. Then we're going to fold it over to the right side, sew it on the front, and this ensures that it's completely sewn nicely all the way around, no gaps, it looks great, and it's perfect if you're giving this as a baby gift. So let's start pinning to the back. Just start pinning right around the edge here. I want the edge of the bias tape to be flush with the edge of the fabric. And just keep going all the way around to get to the end. Now I've pinned all the way around the back of the bib. This particular bias tape is made out of knit fabric, but if you were using a standard woven fabric, what you would want to do first is finish off these little raw edges. Place them with right sides together, sew a small seam down there, and you're ready to go. With knit fabric though, it doesn't fray, so you can just overlay them right on top of each other. Pin it in place, and we are good. We're going to sew all the way around the edge using the crease that already exists in our bias tape as our little guideline. It's about 1/2 inch. Okay, keep going around the bottom, around all the corners. And there you go. Now I just need to take off the pins, fold it over to the front side, and sew the front. Now turn your bib over to the front side, and then just pull that bias tape right over, and you'll see it fits real nicely. What you want to do is pull it over far enough so that it covers the stitching that we sewed on the other side. And we're just going to pin this all the way around, and then we're going to sew it in place, and then you're going to be done. Yay! What you want to do is sew as close as you can to the edge of the bias tape without going over into the bib fabric. I'm going slowly over here and just kind of pulling each piece as I go to make sure that it's fully covering that sewn line that we did underneath. And look at that. Totally cute little bib. And for $1, it's gonna look great on your baby. Great as a baby gift. For more tutorials and patterns, go to my website, danamadeit.com, and click subscribe to be updated on all of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.